Welcome back, guys. So in today's video, I'm going to be testing out several Temu tools. So recently I had a patron ask me about Temu tools, if the quality is any good, what I thought about them. I had no clue because I'd actually never heard of the app. So I downloaded the app, ordered a couple of $100 worth of tools, and we are going to try out different ones. The prices are great, but let's see about the quality. Let's start with the packaging. So this is exactly the way that it came. Tape everywhere, parts sticking out. I have no clue if all my tools are even in here, but if the packaging is any indication of the quality, it's already starting off bad. But we won't know until we dive in here. So let's dive in. Package is all chewed up. Looks like maybe a rat here. But let's see what it is. So everyone knows how expensive oscillating tool cutter attachments are, and I just picked up a set of 20 for 11 bucks. That's a steal if they work. This is actually a variety pack. It comes several different things. Let's open one up, get a little closer look. If these things work and they work well, I mean, that's a heck of a deal. Actually don't look terrible. Teeth feel pretty sharp, and they have the measurements on the blade itself. So everything looks good so far. I'm actually pretty hopeful for this. So let's give it a try. We have a side-by-side comparison to a more expensive brand. These are about 15 bucks a piece. These are around 50 cents a piece. Everything is looking about the same. See how it chucks up. That actually fits. My fear was that these notches would not align with this chuck, but it does. I mean, it's tight. So you can tell the difference between the expensive blades and these cheap ones. It does take a little bit longer to cut. This black is actually the paint. I actually thought that it would smoke this blade and ruin it, you know, first use. I got a cut out of it. So for the price point where you can get 20 of these for less than the price of one, I'm really not gonna hate on it. Even if I can only get a couple of uses out of it, I'm gonna give it a try. Okay, so let's see what else we have. No clue. Still no clue. Curve saw. So this is supposed to be a jigsaw that you can connect to your drill. This thing was 9 bucks. I saw it on there and I thought that if it worked, it would be super cool. My first impressions of it here is that everything is very cheap plastic except for the actual chuck itself. The good thing about it is it will accept the T-shanks. We may not even make it to the testing phase with this one. Okay, so I can't get my T-shank to fit, and this is just a universal. I use them in several different jigsaws. It actually came with a few different ones, which is a bonus because these things are expensive too. And see if there's even fits their own device. And these things are huge. Golly. This is the jigsaw blade that it came with, and this is standard size. I mean, this thing's like 6 inches long. So I know I can't get mine to chuck up. Let's see if this one actually does. Theirs is even worse. Really disappointed in this. Okay, so the nut on the inside of this is actually sideways. So you cannot use this handle on the right hand side. This side looks a little straighter and it will accept it on this side. Okay, so you would actually be able to use it on one side if it would accept the blade. So even the blades that it came with, it will not accept. I really wasn't surprised when the universal blades didn't work, but whenever the blades that they sent with the device didn't fit, that surprised me a little bit. Okay, so there has to be something good in this bag. We're gonna get there. Oh my God. Okay, so this is a metal cutting tool. Brad with Fix This Build That actually reviewed something similar to this from, I think it was Alibaba or whatever. But look at the box. This is what you get whenever you package stuff. I mean, that's quality there. I mean, come on. I don't even know what the world to do with this thing. Okay, so this electric drill bit cutter metal nibbler obviously has some assembly required. The instructions on putting this together is just saying that you just chuck it into the drill and then apply tension with this spring. It doesn't say anything about the 50 parts thing here. It really wasn't that hard to assemble. It came with these little heavy-duty 1/16 of an inch thick wrenches. Doesn't sound like the gears are lining up perfectly. There's slop in these gears where they're supposed to match, so that's never good. Anytime I've ever seen that before, it's usually followed by metal shavings. You always know if you find metal shavings in a gearbox, you're about to shell out some cash. Luckily for me, this thing was only $8.99 total. So let's hook it up and give it a try. All right, so now this thing actually looks cool. We're gonna see how it works. It's kind of a weird setup with this bar and this spring. Let's see if it'll cut metal. I have a little bit of concern with this gear slipping, but see if it can prove me wrong. It's not doing anything. It won't pull. And this is thin metal. Go at a different angle. Sometimes it'll help. trying to bite. Yeah, that's not happening. Okay, I want to take this apart real quick. Remember how earlier I was telling you I was worried about this gearbox? So I'm actually curious about this because this thing is hot. I mean, it's like fire hot. I can see shiny metal on this gear, okay? And then look on the inside. That is all metal dust. And if you look at this one as well, see how shiny that is? Okay, so because they did not make this to where everything locked in perfectly, and attempting to use it once completely destroyed it. The wrench is about the only thing that I can salvage. Oh, never mind. Yes, it looks cool. Does it work? Absolutely not. Do not waste your money on that. Man, I was really hoping that would work. Okay, so let's see what's next in our bag of wonders. Oh, one of the things that I was curious about, again, I saw one of these on Brad's review and had tried out. It is a chainsaw that goes on the end of your drill. So the one that he received, he didn't think was all that bad, maybe a little dangerous. So I needed to try one myself. Okay, so we have 0 instructions. We have our monster chainsaw blade here. All this looks good. Feels tight on the rotation. This little screw here actually tightens the chain, and you actually have to put it kind of against the chain to tighten it. It will move the bar here. So that's about right. This is probably the sketchiest tool I've seen in my life because the kickback guard here, it doesn't do anything really. Pretty sketchy, but we're gonna try it out anyway. All right. So I'm actually looking forward to this one. I have faith that this tiny little saw is going to work. So I'm actually looking forward to this little thing. Everybody likes chainsaws. I actually went out and brought in a piece of dry firewood, should be a piece of pie to cut. This is a real chainsaw blade. Not gonna put my fingers anywhere near it right now because battery's on. Got my little safety device here to protect my bottom 2 fingers. The rest of them, yeah, guess no worries with those. And no worries about bar oil or anything like that. Apparently it's not important on this kind of a chainsaw. All right. Okay, so 3 minutes later, I cut through half of a log. I mean, this thing's probably not but 2, maybe 2.5 inches thick. Well, it works. It just does not work fast. The chain with one cut is super loose. If I go again, I know it's going to fall off. It needs to be retightened. Yes, as super cool as it is, I mean, it would make a nice keychain, but it doesn't make a nice cutting tool. Don't buy it. It's kind of like a gimmicky toy thing. Looks cool, but doesn't work. That was exciting. Let's see what else we have in here. Another crushed box. Okay, so we have some hole saws here. $8.15 for the whole set. Surely there can't be a whole lot that can go wrong with this. Really, the only thing is going to be whether these things can actually cut a hole. It actually comes with 2 different size receivers here. I'm actually pretty hopeful on this one. Maybe not. It's awful thin metal. I can feel it move whenever I squeeze it. And this is a small one. I don't know. One way to find out. Let's cut some holes. First, I wanted to compare it against a different hole saw set that I have, and you can already tell huge differences. This is my current hole saw set. This is the new one. This is a 1/16 of an inch thinner. But with this being that thin and the metal getting hot, it's not going to keep its form very long. I was going to just put the biggest one that they have, which is 2.5 inch. Our 2.5 inch is only 2 3/8. Now that's outside tooth to outside tooth. Our 1.25 inch is only 1 1/8 inch. So you guys see how this thing is wobbling? Okay, I double check to make sure that everything's chucked in here correctly, and it is perfect. This is warped. But anyway, I'm still going to drill a hole. It's going to be an oval, but we're going to drill. So it cut, and it is still smoking. Like, this thing is probably going to catch on fire, and that's not a circle. So, big no. All right, so our next one. Let's see here. At least I know there's not going to be 1,000 parts just laying in the bottom of this bag. It's another form of a hole saw. So they're calling it an adjustable multifunctional universal hole opener diameter woodworking hole adjustable opener diameter hole saw 45 millimeters to 130 millimeters. That's a long name. So basically what this thing is supposed to do once I assemble it, all those different hole sizes that you just saw, you're supposed to be able to adjust these blades to make different size holes. So there's a lot of moving parts in here in a cheap case to be able to withstand the wear and tear of cutting holes in wood. It says that it can cut holes in bamboo, fiberboard, and aluminum plate. Let me get this thing assembled. Okay, so we are all set up, and this is what she looks like. So in theory, I dig it. You can loosen these up and give this a twist, and you can change the size of the hole that it cuts out. Only thing that I'm concerned about right now are the actual cutters. It's made of very, very thin metal, but maybe the teeth will actually cut and that's not a problem. Okay, so I'm going to give it a very easy task. It says that it can cut through multi-layer plywood and even aluminum plate. Let's just try a piece of 1/2-inch plywood. All right. About broke my wrist. Let's see how we're doing. That's hot as fire. We're 1/8 of an inch down and I'm about to smoke these blades. Whenever I say smoke a blade, it means it gets so hot that it's going to dull itself. Once you do that, if you see smoke coming from a bit or a blade, it's ruined pretty much. And that is what is happening at 1/8 of an inch down on plywood. This is going to be a negative. Okay, so I've smoked these blades. They're done. Parts are falling off that I tightened up with wrenches. We are still not all the way through our 1/2 of an inch of plywood. I like the concept, but it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, it's useless. Big no. So this next one, seeming like I'm wasting a lot of money. This was $8.47 and they're calling it a woodworker's edge ruler guide. Okay, so it's a protractor, so everything clips into place. So up here, there's not any angles. Plastic that they use on this is like super cheap, would chip if anything hit it. The metal does look like stainless, but who knows? The snaps actually do lock in place for the different degrees. Oh, okay, I see the degrees there. That's going to be one thing I need to test, is actually testing to see if the degrees are correct, because right now this doesn't look terrible, you know, besides this cheap plastic, and it comes with this handy dandy little wall hanger. We'll see if it works. Okay, so now let's check out this protractor. You can't hardly see it on here because they're very, very light. On this red part, it actually tells you the degrees and it's supposed to line up with this. It's lining up perfectly at 45 degrees, but every click in between there, it was about 1/16 of an inch off. Okay, so we have it set at 0. So now let's check this plastic, see if it's square with this stainless. We are not. We're 1/16 of an inch out. It's the opposite on this side. We're 1/16 of an inch out at the top. They've actually have the milling wrong on these little locked in buttons. That is kind of the whole point of the whole protractor. It's 1/16 of an inch off. And that is probably where I'm getting that 1/16 of an inch of a difference every time that I move the protractor. Okay, so I have it set to 30 degrees. I'm using a very expensive protractor, probably one of the most accurate and best that there actually is. We are at the very top where the red is meeting. There's a 1/16 of an inch gap. So this thing's all over the place by 1/16 of an inch. So I haven't even got to checking the actual measurements on this thing yet. The whole point of this thing is that it's a protractor and it finds angles. Well, it can't do that because everything is off by 1/16 of an inch. So for its intended purpose, it's pretty useless. Next up, so that last one was a complete dud, so let's keep digging. So this is the most expensive thing that I ordered, and it's a router. I was curious about this router because it was $33. And if it worked like they claim that it does, then it would be a steal. My router that has a motor and an instrument that you would use to make fine cuts is beat to heck. Let's see what the inside looks like. Brushes. Obviously, this is not a brushless system. Nice accessories here. You know, those actually don't look bad. And then we have the wood trimmer machine manual. Super cool name. A lot of creativity there. So obviously, they're trying to knock off a particular brand here. So the wood trimmer machine actually came with brushes in it and an extra set. That was awful nice of them. Okay, do these two look familiar? One of these are name brand and one of them is wood trimmer machine. So let's compare the two. They both have the same RPMs, theoretically, same size motors. Okay, one big thing here is the name brand is adjustable speed. You can definitely tell difference in weight. In the name brand, I mean, it weighs a lot more. Bigger, beefier. This is very, very, very cheap aluminum here. I mean, like super cheap, like a Coke can. And so I'm curious on how well it actually holds this bit in. On the name brand, it's a lot bigger nut. It's going to create a lot more pressure. You see how this has a 4-way kind of a pinch point there? This one only has one. Another thing I noticed right off the bat is that there isn't any type of like push button locking, you know, for taking bits on and off. And then the next big thing that I'm noticing here is just the quality of the base itself. So this is the brand name. You know, you have a lot of aluminum, an actual rubber grip. You have this roller guide here. The wood cutter machine is just tight, loose. Does have rubber around the side. That's not plastic. The rest is plastic. I just checked the actual router plate. Is having an issue getting it to stay set at the depth that I wanted. So after I finally figured out that you have to tighten it to the point of almost breaking this, then I started wondering about the plate itself. So if I put a flat edge on here, you see that gap? I mean, we're creeping up on 1/8 of an inch of a gap. I can see under it. So if your base is 1/8 of an inch off and there's no way to level this or adjust it, which you shouldn't have to, then whatever you're routing will be completely off. Every time that you turn this thing, you're changing the direction that the plate is off, and it's going to change that profile by 1/8 of an inch or whatever that it actually is. It's going to be plenty enough to tell. I'm not even going to fire this thing up. I've obviously wasted 30-some bucks on it. There's just too many things already wrong with this. It looked good. I had high hopes for it, but it's not any good. Out of our bag of wonders here, it's in a plastic case. Jigsaw blades. Yay! We've already had a ton of luck with the jigsaw. It's interesting. So these are all the T-shank. Some of them are different brands, different thicknesses. I mean, they don't look terrible. So this is a 48-piece jigsaw blade set. All different types. We've got bimetal. We have wood only. We have the scrolling blades. Golly, look at this one. That thing's as long as a Sawzall blade. So this 48-piece set was $11.19. If they work, they'll be worth it. But first I have to find out if they'll even fit my jigsaw. So let's give it a try. Fingers crossed. So I found one that is comparable to one of the name brands. Checking the thickness. The name brand is just a hair thicker, maybe a 32nd or a 64th. Probably closer to a 64th. This dark one, brand new. And this is the 23-cent one. All right, so to make this a fair test, full battery, brand new blade, name brand. Let's see what 23-cent one does. Locks in. This one's faster. The 23-cent one is actually faster. I gotta make this cut again. This is a yes. So this 23-cent jigsaw blade is actually twice as fast as the name brand one, and they're both brand new. So the jigsaw blades, 48 pack, definitely. The one thing that I'm not testing that's important is how long will it stay sharp? I just made 3 cuts in a row and cut like butter, but I really do not know in the long run which one will actually last longer. All right, so next up, another bag. Okay, so now this one I actually wanted to try out. So this is a wood carving disc. It's actually in a package. I do not have to assemble it, it looks like. So basically it is a chainsaw made for an angle grinder. So this thing is going to be pretty sketchy. I mean, I've used chainsaws my whole life, but never on an angle grinder. But I'm kind of excited about giving it a try. It says that it can be used in any direction. So it looks to me that the sharpened teeth are all facing the same direction. So we'll see. So this is supposed to be made for wood carving, things like that. I don't really see why you would use this to cut wood. We have so many other tools at our disposal to actually cut wood. Now, carving, that may be something a little bit different. There are a lot of great discs out there for carving, but there's really not one that will take off a ton at a time. That's what kind of sparked my interest with this. So if this thing can remove a lot of material without removing my fingers, and I can go back in with like finer kind of like shaping discs, it would definitely be worth the money because I paid $4 for this thing. Let's fire it up. So now it's time to try out our chainsaw on an angle grinder tool. This is a dangerous tool. I'm telling you now, is dangerous, but we're going to carve something with it. And I'm going to bring this up now while I still can before I make this cut. If you guys enjoy this kind of thing or like the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Do not try this at home. I'm just going to tell you now, just don't even try it at home. Just don't do it. It's fun to use until it's not. This thing got caught just a couple times in probably a minute that I was using it. If you try to cut too deep, which this is the only depth that you have from here to here, so that's about 1 inch. If you go past that, it's going to catch, and then it's going to sling it at 12,000 RPM, and you're not going to stop it. It's just going to cut through whatever it hits. Yes, it's a fun little thing to use. Is it practical? No. Besides this thing wanting to catch and kick, I can already feel that the blade is getting dull. Okay, so you're going to be sharpening this blade every 5 minutes. And one of the reasons why is because it's not being oiled in any way. I guess you could spray it down with oil or whatever, but chainsaw blades are supposed to run through oil to help to keep them cool. And like any other blade, if it gets too hot, they burn up and they're ruined. Yeah, you may get a couple minutes of fun out of this, but other than that, you're either going to cut your leg off, your arm off, or you're going to have to resharpen the blade. So I'm gonna say a big no. It's still fun though, but don't use it. The bag's getting this next one. No fancy packaging, so I can see exactly what it is already. drill bits. So this was a 50-piece drill bit set for $2.70. If they can actually drill a hole in wood, it is worth that. All different sizes. I like the fact that there was a lot of these smaller sizes that has a tendency to snap off, things like that. So it's only one way to find out. Let's drill some holes. All right, so for these drill bits, I'm going to try this out with one of these 3/32 bits. It's kind of a smaller bit. They're bad about break off. And then I'm also going to try these 1/16 bits that I break the dang things every time that I use them. Again, for $2 and something, for 50, I just need these things to drill some holes. Okay, so you do have to use a lot of force, but it's drilling holes. Haven't smoked this bit. It is getting hot, but I'm having to put a lot of pressure on there. So let's see how these little babies do. 1/16. Okay, we will not be trying the 1/16 because typically whenever you get a 1/16 bit, it actually comes with another bit made around it so it can actually chuck up into your drill because that's more than 1/16. So it just falls out. These are pretty much worthless. I'm gonna try another one of these just to see if I got a dull one. It drills holes. The tips are not the sharpest and they do have a little bit of a tendency to walk if you don't press down, kind of make a little puncture site first. But still, for $2, if you're gonna be ordering something else, I would order some. The bits did not break. I drilled over 10 straight holes and I did not smoke a bit, so it's not bad. It's been a super fun test, but it turns out that I wasted my money on almost everything. I ended up with some drill bits, oscillating tools, and jigsaw blades. That cost a total of $200 apparently, because the rest of this stuff is absolute junk. But this was a fun video, and now you know what not to buy, and I have my answer on the quality of the tools from this company. So, till next time guys, we'll see ya.